is it possible for a person to figure it out in 2 or 3 weeks, in a short time, that I found my partner, the real partner or wife or husband?
Someone you want to marry, spend the rest
Yeah,
of your
yeah.
life with, your soulmate, for lack of a better term.
Sure, your
Sure, why
soulmate.
not?
Yeah,
Words don't mean anything unless we make them mean something.
exactly. Or like I want to say, um, am I in a emotion? Am I on drug, or am I am a smart person? I
What you're asking me is, are you thinking clearly,
yes,
right?
yes.
Because in a sense, we're always on drugs. If you consider a drug any kind of chemical reaction that affects your perception, thinking ability, judgment,
Mm,
right? Your brain is nothing but a bunch of chemical reactions, right?
right.
I just said right before we started filming, I need to get a drink because I can't think clearly when I'm dehydrated. What is that if not a series of chemical reactions in my brain that impairs my ability to perceive and think, right? And
Yeah.
if I have a cup of coffee, the caffeine will affect my ability to think and articulate myself. If I eat a really nice, juicy steak, that will affect how I think, perceive, and right. So, uh, like the common claim is love just a drug, just a chemical reaction in your brain. Well, of course it is. Because everything's a chemical reaction in your brain. Like, duh. Like, that was never in question. What we are questioning is it meaningful or superficial that love is a series of chemical reactions in your brain? Like, what does that mean that love is a series of chemical reactions in your brain? Because so first of all, is it possible for experience to be meaningful? Because if the answer to that question is no, then obviously love, it cannot be a meaningful experience. But if you believe it is possible for experience to be meaningful, then the question is, does love belong in that category of things called meaningful experiences, or are we deluding ourselves into thinking it's more meaningful than it really is? That's the question you're asking me. And can we arrive at that conclusion that we are having a meaningful experience of love in a relatively short amount of time, such as 2 weeks after having met a person,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Even under ideal conditions, can you know after 2 weeks, yes, I'm in love with this person and it's a good idea for me to spend the rest of my life with them, right?
Sure.
I would say probably not in 2 weeks, even under ideal circumstances. And we can take that principle and the logical extreme of that. Why not 1 week? Why not 3 days? Why not one day? Or the common expression, love at first sight. That's, you know, that expression,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
love at first sight. That's the shortest
I think
possible amount of time.
I think this is the things that I want to. I am saying that happened to me.
You're saying that you fell in love with someone the moment you saw her?
Yeah.
You sure it wasn't after like talking to her, spending time with her, getting to know her?
No, it make it. It went deeper, but this first second was meaningful.
Okay, so when you say that, you mean you saw her and you thought she was attractive? Because if that's your standard, I'd fall in love 10 times a day. Oh, she's pretty. Oh, she's pretty. Oh, she's cute. Oh, she's got nice boobs. Oh, she's got a nice face. Oh, she's got a nice ass. Is that falling in love? Because I can do that
No,
all day
no, no,
long.
no, not just that one. It's something like except all of them, or although I didn't see them yet. There is something that I can what? I can say it this is the right person for me in a long term.
How could you know that by looking at someone and knowing nothing about them?
This is the point that I want to mention. Like, is it possible if you have a deep connection with your heart, or let's say in a science term, you have a good high EQ, not IQ. Is it possible,
Emotional intelligence?
yeah, to find the right person faster than the average?
Faster than average, sure, of course.
Mm.
Of course, we're all good and bad at various things. There are things I do better than the average person, and there are things I do worse than the average person. Why can't recognizing the compatibility of love be one of those things? Of course, sure. But at first sight? or even after 2 weeks, that's
Mm,
like running the 3-minute mile. It's like the fastest anyone has ever run in the history of humanity. It's like, is that possible? Theoretically, maybe, but are you saying you're the fastest runner in the world?
mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
in my book about love called The Romantic Ideal, the highest standard of romance for a man, I do address the specific thing because it's a common thing that people think about love, and particularly with men, we tend to be much more visually oriented than women. Like like a man being attracted to a woman physically, thinking she looks nice, can very easily trick himself into thinking there's some kind of meaningful connection because, oh my god, she's so fucking hot. And women, well, obviously they can think men are attractive. That has much less of a strong emotional effect on them. If they see the handsomest man in the world, say, oh wow, he's really handsome, and then they move on with their life. Men don't do that. We say, oh my god, she's so hot, I have to talk to her, I have to get her number, I have to do something, right? Um, it's a fault in our programming that we have to overcome as we should, sure. But in the section in chapter 3 called Attraction, Meaningful and Superficial, there's a subsection called Romantic Chemistry Beyond the Physical, where I try to establish different parameters by which we determine how attracted to someone we are, how compatible we are with them beyond the really obvious ways, like we think that they look really nice, because that's the easiest one, right? But there are others that take longer to notice, even if you're very emotionally intelligent. So I say, I don't believe in love at first sight. There's just not enough you can know by looking at someone, being near them, or briefly talking to them to draw the conclusion that you are in love with them, no matter how they might make the blood pump to your brain or other organs. Wink, wink. You know what other organs I'm talking about. Regardless, I know from personal experience that you can recognize love compatibility and high levels of romantic chemistry with the right person almost as soon as you meet them. What the Japanese call, I'm going to mispronounce this, too bad we don't have any Japanese people in the house anymore, what the Japanese call koi no yokan, or a premonition that you will eventually fall in love with someone. You can definitely see the potential in someone new if you are experienced in this domain and know your authentic preferences well. Under these conditions, you're not just excited because it's a new person and they're so pretty or so interesting. You get a sense that you are aligned on many levels, from the superficial to the super deep. And at the end of a first date or meet cute, you have a very hard time picturing anything you would have had happen differently than it did. And unless either of you employed deception to create an embellished appearance, things might just start to unfold exactly as that marvelous first encounter made you think they would. What do I mean by that? What am I saying here?
I think the point you were trying to make is that you might not know immediately love at first sight, but you can see maybe there are certain factors and conditions that might in the long term, that stay there
Yes.
that would make you have that person might be a potential candidate to be a partner for you in future.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if you value certain things, if you value, I don't know, compassion, patience, and then you see those things at the beginning, then you think to yourself like, oh, okay, maybe she has some things that I like or that are attractive to me now. You see them already at the beginning. And then I think you sort of think to yourself, okay, give it with some more time. I don't know if I'm right in that part, but in the future, perhaps there could be, I don't think it's necessarily like will be, but you can see yourself being with that person in the future because of some things, some factors you see at the very beginning. I don't know if I'm
Pretty much. I would say that you can recognize the prerequisites for love, but it would be quite foolhardy and juvenile to immediately act, oh my god, I'm in love with this person because they're really attractive and I had a really good conversation with them. So from that, what are you figuring out? You're figuring out, okay, we have common interests. I'm obviously very physically attracted to them. They seem physically attracted to me. We share fundamental values. The way we communicate is just like so flowing and seamless and wonderful and magical, and our minds complement each other so well. All of those are the kinds of things that I would call romantic chemistry and compatibility, the prerequisites for being in love with someone. And I define being in love as a state of shared identification with them. And romantic love, including the physical passion that comes with that state of identification, because obviously parents love their children, they identify with them, but they don't have that raw physical passion towards their children. Hopefully, I mean, some parents do, I guess, but they shouldn't be around their kids. Uh, so you see what I mean? Like you can't. That's not an instantaneous process. You can't just immediately completely identify with another person, such to the extent that you see them as an extension of yourself. But you can see that definitely the requirements for that to happen exist between me and this person. Now we have to ask, is this going to happen? Another analogy I use in the book is it's like winning the lottery, which is just pure fucking astronomical luck, right? 1 in a million chance, oh my god, I have the winning lottery ticket, I won $1 million, right? That's what meeting someone you have an enormous amount of romantic chemistry with and compatibility with is like, oh my god, where have you been all my life? You're so different than every other woman I've ever known. We have this incredible thing going on between us. We won the fucking lottery. We got a winning lottery ticket right here. Okay, so the universe gifted you with $1 million. What happens next?
If you know how to use it, you will use it.
Yes. What do you do with this accident of great fortune? If you know anything about the majority of lottery winners, they're usually people who are very, very poor, because only poor people play the lottery, right? People with stable, comfortable incomes don't waste their money on lottery tickets hoping to get rich, right? And so they go from suddenly being very, very poor to very, very rich, which means they don't know how to be rich, which means they don't know how to spend money wisely, manage it, invest it wisely. And the majority of them waste all their money, right? They become poor again very, very quickly, right?
Yeah.
So even if by just the miracle of the gods bringing the right person into your life that you have this incredible chemistry with, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, more than likely your relationship is going to fall apart if it ever even gets started in the first place, right? If neither of you knows what you're doing, or if only one of you does, right? So that's that lifelong process of like investing the money that just through sheer accident fell into your lap, right?
Right.
And that's the part that people miss because they think that love is just like an automatic process. Like, well, if we're compatible, it should just happen. We should just be in love and everything should be wonderful. Why isn't it working the way that it should? Well, because one or both of you might not be very self-aware. You might not be very emotionally mature. You might have all kinds of problems in your life that prevent you from doing what you want to do with your romantic partner. You might be there might be an age gap between you. Like maybe your partner, the person that you have this incredible amount of chemistry with, is 10 or more years younger than you. And so they haven't learned some pretty important developmental lessons that you have. So you can see, man, if this person were 10 years older, like we would just be fucking perfect for each other. But right now they're like a fucking kid. And like, what can I do about that? Like, I can't change that. Right. So, and I have a section about like making differences in age and experience and maturity work, or realizing that they can't work because you're just too fucking different, even if on some kind of primordial level you do have an enormous amount of compatibility with this person, right? And okay, so wait, I know what I need. Recognizing you are in love, or that a man is in love with you. Okay, here is what I would ask my daughter about any boy she was dating who professed to feel strongly about her. So I intentionally framed this way because this is primarily written for men, right? To like understand themselves better, or for women to understand them. Like you asked a man to think, how do I know I'm in love with this woman? I know I really like her. We get along really well. Our sex is amazing, whatever, right? But if you frame it in a different way, if you're a man, if you had a daughter, a teenage or young adult daughter who's dating a boy, and the boy professes that he is in love with your daughter, are you going to be skeptical of that claim a little bit? You're going to say, well, yeah, you seem like a nice kid, and I can tell you really like my daughter, but are you sure you're in love with her? Because that's a pretty strong claim there, kid, right? So how do you differentiate that? Like, what would you ask this boy? What would you tell your daughter, like, to figure out if this is true, if the way this man professes to feel about you is how he really feels about you? Here's the answer I came up with. Do you see a man become a better, more fully expressed version of himself around you as a consequence of your influence? Do you see that he cannot pull his heart away from you because you bring peace to his life and activate his potential? Do you make all the beauty in the universe come alive for him, such that your influence lingers on him like a scent even after you are gone? Are you like the sun to him, the origin of light and warmth that all life on earth reveres, the source of all his superpowers? That is how a man who wholly loves you will react to the fact of your existence. It is a holistic type of love. You do nothing to change it because it is integral to who you both are. the natural chemical reaction of your mixing. So what do I mean by that? I'm stepping away from incidental events that might serve as evidence or applications of love, right? Like, well, we both really love bowling and Star Wars. We do these things together all the time, and we have a really good time every time we do it. Okay. Do you not think that there are probably millions of people in the world who love bowling and Star Wars and that you could do those things with and have a good time with? Well, the sex is really good, okay? Do you think that's the only person in the world you could have good sex with? Right? And on and on and on. Every little thing you say, well, this is why I think I'm in love with this person, right? So it has to become something much, much bigger and more important than that. I describe it as holistic, where it consumes everything about how you see yourself and your connection to this person, because ultimately they end up becoming an extension of you, right? That you don't even differentiate between yourselves and them anymore, right? And that's not something most young and inexperienced people can do very well, I think. And you know, I'm certainly, when I was a young man in my 20s, I would say that I was more mature than most young men in their 20s and more experienced in most ways. But even I still would have struggled to like differentiate between just, our relationship is really good in these particular aspects. Does that mean that we're in love and should spend our lives together? Right? That's still like focusing too much on specific events and associations, not like an integral way of being with this person, which requires, again, an enormous amount of self-awareness and emotional maturity for both people. So when you ask me a question like, can I know after 2 weeks that I'm in love with someone and want to marry them? Well, that's the standard I'm implying in my head when you ask a question like that. No, I don't think you can get to that point after 2 weeks. I don't think even I could, and again, I think I'm much better at this than most people. I don't know anything about you and your experience with relationships, but if I can't do it, I'm going to assume most other people can't do it too, because I fancy myself better at this than most people. Does that mean that what you're feeling is wrong in any way, or like misguided, misled in some way, and then you're deluding yourself? No, didn't say any of that at all. You may, in fact, very well have identified those prerequisites that I'm talking about for that kind of love compatibility that I'm talking about, which may or may not even be your goal. Maybe your idea of love, this ideal relationship, marriage, or however you're framing it, might not be exactly what I described. It might be something else. But again, the same standard applies. Can you, in the 2 weeks of experimental evidence you have, rationally reach the conclusion that yes, this is that thing you're looking for? Or is it just, okay, I have a lot of reason to continue investigating this. I have a very optimistic feeling about this because of what I experienced in 2 weeks with this person. And is there anything wrong with that? Is that like unromantic to say that? Like, should you be falling head over heels in love and buying flowers and singing songs and and proclaiming your love to the heavens? I'm in love with my soulmate. This woman is the love of my life after 2 weeks because we had some good conversations and sex together. Or is it just, yeah, this is amazing. This is a really good start to something. I can't wait to see where this goes. Like, is there anything wrong with that, with being down to earth and realistic like that?
No, sure not.
Yeah. That's that highly dramatized kid puppy version of love, where everything has to be big and bombastic and amazing, and eventually that kind of love explodes because it's so far removed from the reality of what you're actually feeling and experiencing. I think love of the type that I am describing, you should just be very confident. I mean, it is exciting, definitely. Like, and it should be. Not all the time, but yeah, when you have sex, you should be really excited. Sex is an exciting thing, possibly the most exciting thing human beings do, right? Or when you have a really good conversation or whatever it is you do with this person that you think you're in love with, excitement is definitely a necessary ingredient of that, but it's not this perpetual state of excitement. That would be exhausting, right? But it should definitely be confident. Like, even in your worst moments, Steve, like you've had some kind of horrible fight about something stupid or something important, because both of those happen, stupid fights and important fights. Even if you don't want to talk to each other for several minutes or something because you're just mad at each other, you should still be able to very easily and quickly reflect and say, yep, I'm still in love with this person. Yep, still want to be with them. Like, it should just be like automatic. It should be like, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I? Right? Like, if that can be threatened very easily because like you thought about something, or someone felt insecure about something, or you looked at another woman who was attractive and she was walking by or something, then that you don't really have that stable foundation of co-identification with another person. And that takes time. Repeated events, repeated exposures, a whole spectrum of possible experiences together, the positive and the negative. How would you characterize or describe the way in which I talk about my relationship with my wife, Roseanne? Do I say everything is perfect and wonderful and roses and butterflies? We never fight about anything, and it's the dream. It's a fairy tale Disney magical castle adventure. Anything like that?
No.
No.
You're so relaxed. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
relaxed is a good way to describe it. Does that mean that I think she's perfect and wonderful and amazing, and there's nothing wrong with her whatsoever?
No, I never
No.
seen this.
Have you heard me complain about her more than once? Have I articulated what I perceive as her character flaws on more than one occasion? Have I been brutally honest about ways I think she should improve and develop as a person? Have you seen that?
To see what?
Have you heard me when I talk about Roseanne, my wife, the woman I'm in love with and want to spend the rest of my life with? Do I only talk about her in exclusively heavily embellished positive terms? Or do I also talk about what I like grounded, brutally honest ways in which I think she should develop and grow as a person?
Normally, you focus on the second one.
I would say I do both a fair amount. So don't create the impression that I'm just sitting here bad mouthing her all day. No, I would say I do a lot of both.
About we are speaking about the Star Wars and the Rosanna King.
Roseanne again? Yeah.
No, but it's a balance. Not,
Yes, I as much as I am able to do so honestly and as accurately as possible, which of course I'm not at all saying like I'm God and I know everything and everyone should listen to me, but to the best of my ability, I articulate what I consider to be amazing and exceptional about her, including the reasons why I believe we're uniquely compatible for each other. And also, because I know her so well, I have a unique insight into things about her that probably no one else on Earth does, including the negative side, her character weaknesses that I have personally witnessed because we've known each other for 9 years. And in that time, we have seen a hell of a lot of applications of each other's personality and strengths and weaknesses. I would say that it is safe to assume we have seen the best and worst of each other in those 9 years. And so that's if it is possible for this relationship between us to work, like to last the rest of our lives with us being satisfied with the relationship, we need to accurately conceive of and think about each other. We need, and I'm sure she could tell you a whole lot of stuff about me that most other people would not know about me, and she would hopefully do that honestly in a grounded way, saying, well, here's what's amazing about Gregory and why I want to be with him for the rest of my life. But also, have you noticed these things about Gregory? And I'd have to kind of just, nod and say, yeah, I mean, you got me, basically, yeah. And I believe she would do the same thing. That's why this isn't gossip about her. I'm not like talking about her behind her back, because she would be saying these exact same things if she were in the room with us, right? And she would, maybe kind of like begrudgingly nod and say, yeah, you're right, I do have those problems, Gregory, And if she didn't, like if she couldn't be honest about that, or if we couldn't have that conversation, if we just completely disagreed about something really important like that, then we'd have to seriously assess the chemistry and compatibility in our relationship, right? Because over the course of life together, we are going to encounter those things in each other over and over and over again, both the very, very positive and the very, very negative. And so when I talk about her and I say, yes, I'm in love with this person, yes, I want to spend the rest of my life with this person, I always sound completely confident about it. Not super duper excited, or I don't know, I mean, I really hope it works, but, pre-wedding jitters or something, right? No, it's just like, yeah, of course. This is what it is. Like, to the best of my ability to determine what is true, this is what's true. Of course. What else would it be? It's like gravity. Will this fall when I drop it? What do you think? Do you think this will fall when I drop it? You want to take bets? Will it float in the air? Will it rise up to the ceiling very rapidly if I just drop this, or will it fall? What do you think will happen? I'm pretty confident that it will fall.
Me too.
I would bet the rest of my life on that prediction that it will fall. Let's find out. Oh, it did. Yeah, of course. It did what I thought it would do. I wouldn't do what I thought it would do. I'm very confident about that, right? That's how I think about it.